Okay, here we go. Rock and roll. We've got our media panel here, and these are the folks that we were just, kind of picking on a little while ago. And now we get to pick on them in person. No, actually not. We are not going to do that. I'm going to ask, because I don't know what did JR tell you y'all were going to do?
I think it was kind of unclear.
Okay. Okay, so none of us have any instructions, so let me start by simply introducing the four of them very briefly, and then I'm going to ask them to each give us, just whatever is floating on their mind. Starting on the left, we've got Brian Nobles from, what is it, NBC12?
Yeah.
NBC12 in Richmond. We've got Julian Walker, who is the political reporter for the Virginia-Pilot. He's based in Richmond as well. Anita Kumar from the Washington Post does a lot of their political reporting. And Kimball Payne, who had the furthest distance to drive because he's with the Daily Press here that covers the peninsula. So I'm going to do it in reverse order since I introduced you that way. Just go ahead and say hey or whatever you think is important for us to hear.
Well, no, I mean, our newsroom's about 4 or 5 miles down the road, so this is home territory for the Daily Press. We started the Shad Plank blog, I guess, 3-4 years ago, and that's basically where I do all my writing, other than what gets in the print. So it's definitely been an education. It's not anything that I was planning on or anything like that. I was a little bit resistant to it at the beginning, but come to kind of like the flexibility, like the ability to have a voice, and looking forward to finding out what you guys want to talk about.
Okay, I'm Anita Kumar. Like she said, I'm also in Richmond. I started at the Post in '07, and I think the blog started a couple of years before then. But it was a situation where they had a lot that they wanted to blog and write about during elections, and then at other parts of the year it kind of lagged. And so when I got there, they were going to not based on my being there, but just they were going to restart it and really rebrand it and try to really keep it going because it hadn't been consistent. So in '07, in the fall of '07, for those elections, we really started it back up again, and it has really taken off, and it has really taken a lot of effort. It's taken a lot more time than I would have initially thought. I have one colleague, she and I, who maintain the blog, and then some other folks pitch in. I mean, we are, in addition to all of our other duties, updating, during the election we had maybe 10 new items a day. Now it's 3-4 items a day, which is kind of a lot because, it's not just stuff, for us, the blog is many little stories. So we have to do reporting on that. I'm happy to talk more about it, but it's just been an interesting kind of shift in what we do and how much time is spent on the blog versus, stories that get in the paper and that sort of thing. So I'm happy to answer questions.
As Julian said, I'm Julian Walker. I work for the Pilot. I've been with the Pilot for about 2 years. Prior to that, I worked for the Times-Dispatch in Richmond for a number of years, and then a variety of other papers, both in-state and out-of-state. I would never dare to question Vivian's expertise, but I will disagree with her on one thing. Feel free to pick on at least me, if you'd like. I would say that among the folks up here, I'm probably, the Pilot is probably a late adopter of the blog. We just started at the beginning of 2009, kind of based on some conversations I had internally with some other folks. My feeling at the time was, because these other folks were doing it, that we probably needed to participate, both just because it is, one of many new emerging technologies, and two, because I felt like it would assist me as a reporting tool, because a lot of things that perhaps wouldn't warrant a story in the newspaper, and some of that is because of shifting priorities, and some of that is because of the fact that, as we all know, newsprint, the space in the news hole is not what it once was. And so I felt like it would help me as a reporting tool, simply to kind of keep up with a lot of the little dribs and drabs of news that might not necessarily make it into a story in the paper, but still needed to be kind of cataloged somewhere. And so I find it useful because, in addition to keeping up with stuff, it may remind me of something, or as I'm working on a longer story for the print edition of the paper, I may go back and consult that and say, okay, I use this, and that's relevant in this story, or so on and so forth. So that's my little spiel.
I'm Ryan Nobles from NBC12 in Richmond, and I'm the only television reporter, and so that's my contribution to the blog world is different right from that starting point. I think differently from my colleagues in print, where they were kind of pushed into doing the blog. I kind of just did it on my own, primarily because television reporters have really become jack of all trades. There isn't the ability to really be able to only focus on one area. And I felt that if I started a blog, that would allow me the opportunity to look more in-depthly into the subject that I enjoyed covering the most, which was politics. So we had already had a platform called DecisionVirginia.com, which was kind of a one-stop shop for all of our political information that was really only a link off of our website that we only really cared about from the beginning of August through Election Day. And so after we had some staff changes, I kind of just swooped in and took over the name Decision Virginia and turned that into my political blog. And just like Julian said, it's an incredible tool because my news hole is very small on a given day to what I can contribute to a newscast. I mean, at the very most, I mean, at 11 o'clock, our mandate is that each reporter only gets 1 minute and 15 seconds, which there isn't very much that you can tell in 1 minute and 15 seconds, especially when you're talking about a complex political story. Like, for instance, a perfect example was last year, there were 5 candidates running for mayor of Richmond. There's no way you can do the appropriate amount of service to 5 different candidates running for one post in 1 minute and 15 seconds. But by expanding our presence on the internet, we were able to say, here's an important topic that's being discussed in the mayor's race on television, and then to see what each candidate's position is on it, go to our blog, DecisionVirginia.com, where we would post 5 to 6 minute interviews with each candidate, or perhaps even their entire statements. And that gave us, I thought it was good for 2 reasons. One, it provided us the opportunity to give the candidates an outlet, because they were always complaining that we weren't getting the important points out. And then at the second, on the other side of it, it gave those of our viewers that really cared a lot about it the opportunity to go to that and not interrupt the daily news flow. The big challenge that I have that's different than my print colleagues is that in addition to my beat being politics, I still have to anchor 2 different shows 5 days a week, and I still have general assignment reporting duty. So I still have to cover the biggest, or whatever news story I get sent to each day. So basically what I do for the blog is just in addition to whatever I do every day. So I can't possibly keep up with like what Anita's doing 3 or 4 posts a day on certain things, and Julian and Shad Planking are all doing that. So what I try and do is, on Decision Virginia, offer components that these guys don't have. So if I do a 5-minute interview with one of the candidates, I'll post the entire interview from start to finish and have video of it, which this isn't something that these guys always have. So, there are certain times that I have elements that they don't have, that I try and showcase that when I get the opportunity. And then I think the best thing about it for me is that because Decision Virginia has gotten relatively popular, it's now made my editors and my news director understand that there is still a place for political reporting on the television side, which when I first got into NBC12, it had been almost forgotten. So I think that it's helped me on both ends, and that's been an exciting thing.